Hi guys, and a very warm welcome to yet another edition of Fact vs. Fiction, the show where we sift fact from fiction and tell you about all the online fakery that's doing the rounds on the internet. I'm Nikhil Ananda, and with me as always is Arjus Chaudhary, a reporter from Boom. Now, Arjus, last week, social media was really abuzz with this new poll that essentially put Prime Minister Narendra Modi on the #1 spot in terms of being the most powerful person in the world. And this was actually a poll that was brought out by a magazine called the British Herald, and that's what we're going to in fact be focusing on. What is this magazine? What are its antecedents, its credentials, how long has it been around, and how seriously should we be taking this poll? Because to me, it seems relatively obscure. I've never heard of it.
Yeah, well, that's for a good reason. So British Herald started off, the name British Herald started off in the 1860s, a long time ago. And then the name was changed to Bible Herald. But the name British Herald, the brand, was owned by a company called Herald Media Network, which was bought by a businessman from Kerala called Ansif Ashraf in April 2018.
Okay.
So he started off this portal called British Herald, and in March 2019, that's 2 months ago, a couple of months ago, they just started this e-magazine that they only have 2 issues until now, with Jacinda Ardern and Vladimir Putin in the cover.
Okay.
So they're fairly new magazine,
Okay.
and that's why they're so unheard of. And so their websites, let's say, if you look at Alexa rankings, they're ranked at 26,000, so it's really much further away from all its contemporaries.
So it's not a top magazine.
No,
I mean,
it's-
we've
clear.
established that. But I mean, fair enough. Even though it's not a top magazine, it can sort of rank people and have legitimate sort of rankings, so to
Yeah.
speak. But you did a detailed sort of study of the poll and also found quite a few ambiguities and discrepancies in terms of how they've arrived at this. So can you tell us a little bit more about the methodology and what were some of the lacunae that you found when doing research on the story?
Yeah, so I mean, they call it a reader's poll, right? And they did produce some of the figures. They said that Modi won 31% of the votes, which made him the winner. And so when you look at a poll like this, the obvious question starts with, like, okay, what's the sample size and the demographics?
Yeah.
How many people took part in the poll? Are they all in India, or are they like a global population?
Absolutely.
So we kind of tried to look into this, and we found no answers from them at all. So it's a readers poll again. So it's supposed to be the readers of the magazine. So if you look at how many readers they have, so we looked into it. We spoke to the executive director Ansif Ashraf, and I mean, he gave us very vague numbers. They have several platforms through which they sell the magazine: Maxter, Amazon Kindle, and Issue. So he just gave me the number for Issue, which was around less than 3,000.
Okay.
And they said that they had distributed more than 400,000 copies on PDF. So how many of these readers actually took part in the poll? It is completely ambiguous, and they don't want to let it out. So for a magazine like that, which is not very well known, the only way they can make a relevant poll is by giving out the details on the sample size and methodology, which they haven't done. So they basically have not given us any reason to rely on this, in any
All
way.
right, so an obscure magazine, complete lack of transparency in terms of the methodology that they use to actually arrive at this poll, and which is perhaps why you shouldn't be taking it too seriously. This is not a ranking done by Forbes or any of the other big media organizations. But that's it on this edition of Fact vs. Fiction. Thanks very much for tuning in. Do send in all those fake news stories, videos, images that you want us to verify, and we'll definitely do that for you. Our numbers are flashing right below your screens.